Dateline, the year 2000. There I was in Moscow, Idaho. I was in a ballroom at the top of a bar. And there were so many people there dancing and enjoying themselves that sweat was dripping from the ceiling and down the walls. The floor and my stomach were reverberating with bass coming out of the speakers that were all being controlled up front by the DJ. And I found myself fascinated by the technology and wanted to learn more about it. And that's kind of the purpose of this speech, is to talk about the technology of the DJ and kind of go into how that drives innovation in music and vice versa. So to start out, I have been a hobbyist DJ for about 10 years now, and I've also done a little bit of research. So even if you don't know too much about it, I hope to inform you about it, and if you know quite a bit about DJing, maybe some of the stuff I'll talk about will surprise you. I was able to find a wealth of information online on this subject, so if you're interested, do a little research yourself. And I was even able to find a scholarly article on the subject of DJ mixers. But to start out, basic layout of a mixer is you've got two redundant sets of controls for a couple of different sources. Traditionally these sources were turntables. And you also have controls for volume, the kind of gain going to the speakers, and meters, normally they're lit up, showing you just how much decibel sound is coming out of the source in question. Some early styles of mixing came from the disco era. Early disco DJs were actually able to look at where they were on the record and do clean transitions from one song to the next. The first professional DJ mixer was created in 1970 by a gentleman named Alex Rasner. I got this little tidbit of information from David Cross's 2003 bachelor's thesis called A History in the Development of DJ Mixer Features. Another early mixing style was popularized by college DJs, and they took progressive rock from the mid-1970s and later and mixed those together on their radio shows. Which brings us to the birth of the modern DJ, and this was really popularized in New York. In the boroughs there, people would gather around and put up speakers and a really simple DJ setup and mix instrumental music, rap over it, and it became very popular. Another musical style during this time is called Chicago House, and it was created by a subgroup of people, predominantly black and homosexual, to celebrate their lifestyle and differentiate themselves from everyone else. This style of music became so popular that in the early 90s, pop groups like CNC Music Factory would use this very same style that was almost 10 years old at that point. So, I mean, we're starting to see how the technology is informing the music. Some other innovations during that time were the crossfader, where you could quickly go back and forth between one source to the next. Also the kill switch, which is similar. You could remove the bass or treble, and there were also knobs that would do the same thing. And now we see how rave culture, or the culture surrounding this sort of musical mixing, can show the DJ what works and what doesn't on the dance floor. DJs then take this information, and that's how they can select the music that they like to play at these raves, which also informs the production. Music started being produced specifically for DJs to use, and that got put into the mix, which starts the cycle all over again. Which brings us to the modern era. now we have software and hardware that can control musical sound. Some DJs use CDs as their sources instead of records. Some DJs even get up with Game Boys and play 8-bit musical numbers for the crowds they play to. Now we're starting to see all-in-one production. You can produce on-the-fly beats using samplers, timestamp vinyl. These are records that interface with software so that you can physically interface with the music from an MP3 source, just as you would an old record. Also, we see Tractor software bringing it all together. You can add effects on the fly. You can add pretty much anything an old music studio would in the club on the fly. What's next? That's pretty much for anyone to decide, because really everyone's in on the innovation. Pretty much anyone can go and create this music and present it to anyone they want to. So really, it's easy to see how technology drives musical innovation, which in turn drives technological advance. Logical progression is only logical really in hindsight. And to quote William Burroughs, the logical next step isn't logical until someone takes it. Thank you.
Very well done. Very well done.